Welcome to Career Journeys, a series of videos by the Consortium for Public Education. Here we explore the career experiences and pathways of professionals from a wide variety of careers to help you think about the skills you'll need and the paths you might take after high school. I am Sarah Brooks, chatting with Barbara Johnson, Vice President, Center for Race and Gender Equity of YWCA Greater Pittsburgh. Thank you for joining us today, Barbara. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
What is it that you do at YWCA Greater Pittsburgh, and what is your role that you are currently in?
I work in the Center for Race and Gender Equity, specifically focused around our mission, which is eliminating racism and empowering women. And so how we do that is through an advocacy agenda that focuses on empowering women and educational work that focuses on helping people to learn about racial injustice through the history of race in America and, best practices around the types of ways that people can think about that differently. And so we do workshops for corporations and nonprofit organizations and whoever else might ask. We do monthly conversations on race Zoom series that has a different theme each month. And, we do a lot of partnering with other organizations and serve on many different committees that also drive the same kind of mission work around race and gender in the city of Pittsburgh.
How can someone, whether a student or a corporation, get involved in the work that you do?
People can go onto our website. There's a space for people to chime in if they want to ask for a training or if they want to volunteer, or there's definitely a button for donating, so that can happen too. Typically what happens is when we engage maybe corporations to do some educational activities, they also want to move the needle forward in our work, and so they might join us in terms of doing some marketing that has their name on it that supports our work. So that's one way. And we do get calls a lot from student interns at the colleges, both in the area and now out of the area since we're virtual. Both people call sometimes because maybe a young person's taking a class and they have to interview someone with a certain background or title or works in a certain type of industry. So we do some of those. I've done at least 2 in the past month already. And then we also have interns. So we have both high school interns, undergraduate interns, and graduate interns who call and say they have an internship that they have to do for their major, and could they do an internship with us? And typically it's someone who's interested in either women's issues or race issues. And so we work with them to design an internship that either matches what they need in their credited college experience, or sometimes people just want to get experience in the field. And so they're doing an internship that may not necessarily be connected to an academic major, but so we can design an internship that really revolves around what they want to learn and how they want their career to go. We have not yet developed a very strong platform to engage what we would call volunteers. So we're hoping that can happen next year. But right now, our volunteers would be our interns who are working on different projects. And then again, some corporate people who maybe would want to donate or might want to have us speak at an event that they're having. So that kind of gives a little synopsis of how people can be engaged with us.
How did you end up at YWCA Greater Pittsburgh in this role? So basically, can you tell me a little bit about your career path?
What I would tell people is that I didn't, when I was in high school, I didn't imagine myself here at all. So I had a very non-traditional career trajectory to this point. I graduated from high school and I really had no clue as to what I wanted to do. And I was a very, I would say, hard-headed teenager. And so everybody was telling me, oh, you should be a teacher. 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 And so because they said that, I said, I'm not going to be a teacher. Meanwhile, that's what I do. So I did not go that route in terms of my education, but I had always loved the arts and I had loved dancing. So I actually went to college and graduated with a dance major. So I studied classical ballet and tap and modern dance, and then minored in clothing and textiles because I had been sewing all my life. So that was an easy minor for me to complete because it required you to sew things and get graded for them. So I got straight A's and all that. And then when I graduated from college and, I thought, now what am I going to do? I know how to dance and I know how to sew. And I was like, I should have done teaching. That would have been more practical. So right away I got a job at a costume shop and I was able to sew for a while. And then I actually started off my work career in terms of career wise. So I think the costume shop job was like a necessity for an income, but it wasn't like what I envisioned in a career. But then I moved into a position as a program director at the YMCA. And so, and there I was able to use my dance background because I taught a lot of fitness classes as well as creative movement classes for children, and I supervised lifeguards. I had no background in swimming, but I was able to watch the lifeguards teach the swimming classes and give them tips on to how to make it more fun and engaging for the kids in the water that related to my dance background. So I worked at YMCA for many, many years. And then from there, I moved into the higher education world as a diversity and inclusion person. My position started off as a multicultural director. So I worked at a college in the student life department, basically advising the Black student organization, the adult student organization, and being part of the student affairs team. And from that, I did a lot of train the trainer kinds of things and learned about the diversity and inclusion world, which became the new buzzwords for that kind of work. And so moved into that position in higher education and did that for many, many years. And then moved out of Pittsburgh, did it at a college outside of Pittsburgh, and then moved back to Pittsburgh. And then when I was looking for a job, I was actually looking to get back into diversity and inclusion in the higher education field, but there was no openings. And so this position opened and looked like a great match for me because I had always been very interested in and had focused a lot of my diversity and inclusion work on race, since I'm a person of color, and gender, since I'm a woman. So this position actually seemed like a great match. I applied and I got it. And I was colleagues with the people who worked in career services. And so it was always interesting because when they would talk to students about how you're going to have like 7 careers in your lifetimes, and students would be like, oh my God, no. And so to be able to share that and talk with them through that, it also made me feel, empowered myself to know that my trajectory was not at all odd, and that, everybody doesn't just go through this one, like you get your first job and you stay at it and nothing ever changes, because you grow and change as a person. And so I suppose that my creative background does lend to my thought process in like how I make my workshops more engaging and better. And so I'm constantly thinking about that and thinking of ways to include the arts, not in a, I don't know, formal kind of way, but in terms of how people engage and how people think about, color and what's the visual in front of them, and like how you talk and how you ask open-ended questions for people to think about themselves in different ways. So, I think that everything that you do informs the next thing that you do, even though it doesn't seem like it does. I think it does.
What are some skills that make you particularly good at your job right now?
I would say that I have a very strong interest in learning more. And then I also have a very strong interest in like research. So like if I think of an idea, I immediately like jump on it and, not only just research that idea, but like look at the connecting pieces to it so that I am presenting, good information. And I think the fact that I like variety and diversity in my work, that this is also helpful because then, I don't ever feel like, I've done everything I can do and now what do I do? Like there's always more to learn and there's always more to kind of add on to it. So I think really the creativity that allows you to, mix it up and still get good results.
How do connections between environmental and social issues show up in your work?
Racial justice work really looks at the historical trajectory of racism in America. And so if you look at the sustainability piece around that, it's around land, it's around access to food, it's around access to transportation. And so it's around the air that we breathe, who breathes better air, whose house is in air that is better, that's not better, where are the trees situated in urban communities? Are they more in the neighborhoods that are higher socioeconomic? So as we were talking, it really became clear to me that there definitely are those intersections. And, racial justice work definitely has a focus of thinking about not only the issues, but that we can't separate them from the other issues. So you can't separate the racial bias that a person of color might experience at a hospital from the fact that they may be in a community that they're breathing air from trains that are going by or excessive buses or highways. So every single one of those issues is layered with the next. And so you can't just extract it out and say, oh, if people are nice to each other, then race wouldn't exist. But there's other things besides that. So I think that in that way, indirectly, it's connected, but I suspect that, sustainability people would say from their perspective and the work that they do, that there's definitely a direct connection. And especially I'm learning as it relates to land, and land from the biggest sense of the word. So both pieces of land, but also space where people are.
What questions should people ask themselves if they're considering a career in your field?
Are you passionate about the work would be one question. Are you willing to consistently explore your own thoughts and feelings about racial justice? And then are you open to change what that is? And I think that that's really important in this work because, again, you can learn as much as you can in terms of being a facilitator, but it's when you are, face to face with people who share their story and, talk about their journey that you adjust your own thinking about things in ways that make you a better facilitator. So knowing that you can make a mistake, even though you have expertise in a specific area, is really important. And so where is it that I want to make a difference, and what's my skill level in terms of being able to make that difference, and where are my learning curves in terms of where I want to go.
All right, last question. What's one piece of advice you would give to anyone aspiring to work in your field?
Don't enter this field if you don't have the capacity to be, I don't want to say thick-skinned, but there's a lot of heavy emotional wrestling with issues that happens. And so if that's something that you don't want to do or that you're afraid of within your own self, then I would say, that's something that you have to really be okay with to be in this kind of work. So the advice that I would give is to make sure that you're open to not only accepting that you might be changing the minds and hearts of people who want to change, but that you also have to accept that there will be people who do not in any way agree with what you say, even though you think it's the just thing to do and to believe. And so you have to be prepared for the naysayers.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Barbara. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It was great chatting with you.
For more information or to learn about other careers in the Career Journey series, visit our website and check back soon for our next installment. Thanks!